Welcome to the CYF course part 2 on boundaries and discipline in a meeting with children. In our last session, we realized the importance to reach the heart of the children we are serving before trying to impose our discipline and rules. Our group of children needs to feel unconditionally loved and respected. Our love for them will not depend on their good or bad behaviors. This generation is very sensitive to this. Laying this foundation will make a huge difference, leading them to be quick to obey with joy, as the Bible is teaching us. In this part 2, we will focus on how to implement that in the context of a group. Discipline and what rules to apply are challenging in a group, as most of the time we find ourselves alone with many children, and that the week after they find themselves with another Sunday school teacher or leader applying other rules. By the way, can we live without rules? It would be great if it were the case, but because we are fallen creatures, sinners, proud and selfish, as soon as we are a group, we need some rules to protect people and to restrain them. And there is a way to do it in a healthy and holy, if I can say, way. I think one of the first steps would be to gather all the adults intervening in the same group and to take time to evaluate how each one is functioning. We had to do that because we realized when we worked in the context of a church that some Sunday school teachers didn't even know each other, but they were working with the same children Sundays after Sundays. And it was so good to gather them together and to just say, oh, okay, among many other things, how are you functioning with your group? And to decide of 2 or 3 common rules that we will apply in the group. Of course, each leader will have his own specificities and the children can cope with it without any problem. We can also decide to involve the children in the process, asking them what rules would be important. It can be a very interesting process and help them to better take ownership of the rules. The 2-3 basic rules could be, for example, I stay in the room during all the program. When someone is speaking, I don't speak. I respect God, the others, and the material. And you can note that it's not written in a negative form, but more in a positive form, because it's helpful like that. Usually, I function with these 3 things, and only that. No need to come up with 10, 15 rules. Once we decided as a group what are the common rules, it's good to introduce them, to explain them, and to teach the children according to the Bible too, why we choose this rule. We need to be sure everyone understands what we are expecting of them. One key aspect of it for us as adults is to model them too, and find a way for the children to easily remind them. For example, with the rules written on a big sheet of paper and visible to all, for example on a wall, or with a drawing, and do not hesitate to repeat them as part of your routine as you meet with the children. After teaching, there is a training time. You cannot assume that everyone will automatically know how to apply what you teach and what it means. You need to demonstrate it, speak it with the children, pray with them if they are facing some challenging, etc. It's part of the training. I can assure you that if you tell to all my children, clean your room, without demonstrating what it means and what you are expecting, you will have very different results. And then, and only then, come the time to correct. But too often we jump from saying the rule once and then we jump to correction. And please, note that here we are not speaking of punishment, but it's more what we can do to help the child correct and adjust to what is expected of him. But we need to be sure first that he knows what we expect. Let's take the example of the rule, I stay in the room during the whole program. What does that mean if I need to go to the restrooms? You may have several ideas on that. Can you leave without asking? Do you need to ask an adult? Can you go with your friend? There is not one good way to apply. However, the child needs to know which one is applied in this group. It will bring security and stability in the group. And of course, you can adapt the rules and add new ones if necessary, or remove other ones when they are integrated. I would like to share with you some ideas that we learned along the way. When you are with your group, speak only when it's silent. Train your group. If you speak when others are talking, it will not encourage them to speak and share something if they know that they will not be heard. Teach with different learning styles. It will help the children to understand better and to be attentive. Give them opportunities to hear, watch, touch, taste, smell. Use the 5 senses. I don't know how many times I told to one of my child, "Are you deaf?" Because it gave me the impression that he was not listening. Actually, I realized that instead of saying that, just going to him, touching him, saying, "Hey," and he was totally here. Because for him, touching was very, very important, and he was more sensitive to the touch than to listen. And he learned to write the letter, with honey. I was writing the letter with honey, and then he could, just touch them and then, of course, eat the honey. And he learned many, many things with my hand on his shoulder. And you need to be aware that most often we teach with our learning style. Don't forget the other ones. Be intentional in trying to connect with the parents, not only when it's difficult with their child. Find a way for them to know what you are teaching, how their child is doing in the group, how they can be involved. For example, in our church, we decided at one point to offer drinks and snacks at the end of the worship service. We wrote an email with the topics of the month. We asked parents to come to share some testimonies or to help in any way. As children workers, we are here to support and help parents, to work with them, not against. I always remember that mother. She was a single mom, and she had 2 boys, and one of them was misbehaving, and it was difficult. And at the end of Sunday service, I came to her and I said, "Hello," and she told me right away, "Please don't come and tell me that it's difficult with my child, okay? Because it's already difficult in school. I have, notes in his booklet that he is not behaving correctly. And then I'm sure you are coming to tell me that it was difficult. Stop it! I don't want to hear that. I was like, okay. And then I said, you know what? I'm not here against you. I'm here with you. Because obviously here there is a problem. So how can we sit together, process that, and find solution for your child and for yourself? And it took us some time, and we met several times. But at the end, the good thing was that it even changed at school. And the teacher wrote back to the man saying, what did you do? Something changed here. So, not against the parents, with the parents. And then, if you are challenged by the behavior of a child, but that the relationship is already in place, it will be easier to work together. As children workers, our job is not to spend our time trying for the children to behave properly. If we are facing some challenging with a child, we need to speak with our co-workers to see how it happens with them too, and connect with the parents to find a solution. Sometimes a change of group may be necessary. And I remember this example of one child. We really had trouble with him. And I asked him, how and what could we change? What would be your solution? He was about 7. What would be your solution for you, to behave properly in the meeting? And straight away, he answered me, I want my dad to be with me. Okay, so we went to the dad and said, okay, this is the request of your child. What do you think? And the father said, okay, I agree to come. And because the child was saying, I don't see my father enough, and on Sunday mornings I have the impression that I'm losing time that I could have with him. So the father came. He came once, twice, 3 times. And the 4th time he was not here. And I asked the child, how come that your father is not here? And the child answered me, I don't want him to come anymore. And when a child in our group is misbehaving and not following the rules, do not attack him. You know how you would answer if I come to you aggressively. Rather ask a question like, what is preventing you from obeying? You may have very interesting answers. Look for the roots of his disobedience. Is it distraction, laziness, rebellion, misunderstanding, unmet needs? Is he emotionally unable to obey? Did he watch a movie that he was not supposed to watch? Did he have a fight with someone? Does he need first to speak to someone? Does he need to eat? Does he know what he is supposed to obey to? I remember once being in a group and this child was 3, 4 and misbehaving, crying, and we tried everything. We prayed, we tried to ask him, and I was praying and I asked the Lord, what is it? And suddenly I had this impression, he needs food. So I went and grabbed a piece of bread and I gave it to him. And he was really hungry. And the solution was to feed him. And another time we had a child and he slept overnight to his friends and they watched a movie that he was not supposed to watch at all. He was unable to receive anything from someone else. So we had to debrief and to pray for him. And then he has space in his heart and emotions to receive something. I take here the opportunity to underline the importance of being more than one person in charge in a group. I know. It's far from the reality in some cases. But in this kind of situation, it's so worth to have one person available to listen to the child while the other one can continue to serve the group. So if you can find ways to do that, it would be great. Try to give responsibility to this child. In many cases, it helps. I often ask a child, when I see that he's misbehaving, "Hey you, come here please, come in the front." And I give in my computer or my notes and I said, "Can you hold this for me?" Some children need appropriate physical contact, like being closer to the adult or with one hand on the shoulder. Always, I repeat it, in a very appropriate manner, of course, and always asking. Avoid to focus on the child that is misbehaving. When you will realize that instead of asking him to be quiet, to sit down, you congratulate all the other ones that are quiet and seated, he may be very quickly part of them. Sometimes children misbehave as a way to draw our attention. Accept your limitations and do not isolate yourself. If you lose your joy or even your sleep, do not hesitate to share your situation with a coworker, your group leader, your pastor, the parents of the child, whoever seems appropriate to you. Most of us are not specialized people, and we are not trained and able to deal with some situation. It's better to speak about that as early as possible than trying to cope with it and to let the relationship in the group deteriorate. To finish with, I would like to remind you 4 important things to consider. 1. Remember the power of unconditional love. When our adopted son joined our family, he was about 1, and I could see that unconditional love was not settled in his life. Usually it's what you do over this first year of life. And we were starting to say, with 18 months, no, don't touch that, no, don't do that, to protect him. And I could see that every time I was saying no to him, he was kind of, I'm not loved. So I asked the Lord, what shall I do? And I had this impression, every time I was about to say no to him, I said to him, first, look into my eyes. My love for you is not dependent on your obedience. I love you. I repeated that for months. And our older daughter and son were like, we know that my love for you does not depend on your obedience. But then it came, and it's so important. 2, humor. Our God is full of humor. He loves joy and celebration and a good laugh together. And we will not lose our authority if we are joyful. 3, consistency. You are the example. Who you are speaks louder than your words. Model in your own life what you are expecting of the children. Authority is constant, not depending on my feelings or mood. If I'm non-consistent, the child wins. We need regularity. You are the boundary. And you know what? You don't need to shout. Authority does not come with the volume of your voice. Be careful of your words. And of course, fourth, prayer. Don't neglect prayer. Every form of prayer, intercession, hearing, prayers of healing, deliverance, they are making a difference. How many times we have been amazed to see God answering our prayers for breakthrough in worship, or for children to be healed, or for heart-to-heart connection, or for whatever is on your heart. I would like to conclude this session with a picture. What is the purpose of a frame? Let's imagine a beautiful painting. Have you ever seen people watching it and exclaim, "Wow, what a beautiful frame!" Of course not. The frame is here to embellish the painting. That's exactly the same with the framework, the rules that we are giving to our children. It's for them to be more beautiful and shining. You have now some questions appearing on your screen to help you further process. Blessings, and see you again.